on, councillors.
Good morning, everyone, and good morning to any of our viewers this morning as well. Welcome back to 2025. So we hope that everyone's had a great break as we come back for our first council meeting for the year. So I know that we're going to have another exciting and productive year, so we'll start the meeting. So just to acknowledge who is present here today, Marnie, you're right with... and also, I just wanted to acknowledge that our new CEO, Aaron Johansson, is also joining us for the meeting today. So, welcome, Aaron. Are there any apologies or leave of absence? Okay, it's everyone's not making any responses there, so that will be nil. And we move on to our acknowledgement of country. We wish to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which we work and live, and recognise their continuing connection to land, water and community. We pay our respect to elders past and present. Now we welcome Father Trook from the local Emerald Catholic St Patrick's Church and Parish to provide our opening prayer for our first council meeting for 2025. Thank you, Father.
Thank you. For those who do not know me, my name is Truk, as she said, but if you can't pronounce my name, you can call me Truk. It's okay. Truk without the K. I am Vietnamese. I am a Divine Word missionary. I was ordained to priesthood in Melbourne in 2006, and right after my ordination, I was sent to Thailand for mission for 7 years, being the parish priest of the Thai in the countryside along the Mekong River. Wow. Then in late 2013, I came back to Australia, working in the mission office in Sydney for 6 years. And after that, I worked a few months in Alice Springs here and there in the country. And I spent 1 year in Myanmar, Burma. And since the last 5 years, I've been working in Emerald. So I'm very happy to live and to work in this area, lovely community, and I can see marvelous collaboration between the council with different churches and to make this community a great community. It stays in my heart all the time, and that is what I share to other places, other people. I have never experienced in any places in my life when the council invite religious leaders to come and open the prayer for the council. Especially I come from the background of the communists in Vietnam, you see. So once again, thank you for inviting me here, and I really, really appreciate that. And now let us start our prayer with the meeting with the prayer. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Let us still our heart to listen to the word of God from Matthew chapter 5, verses 14 to 16. You are the light of the world. A city set on a hill cannot be hidden. Or do people light a lamp and put it under a basket, but on a stand, and it gives light to all in the house? In the same way, let your light shine before others, so that they may see your good works and give glory to your Father who is in heaven. My dear friends, this gospel reading serves as a reminder of the responsibility and opportunity for your council to lead with integrity, serve as a beacon of hope, and make decisions that uplift the community. So let us pray. Heavenly Father, as the Council gathers here today for the first time in this new year, we give thanks for your guidance and blessings in the past year. We come before you with gratitude for the opportunity to serve our community and with a shared commitment to work for the greater good. Grant us wisdom and clarity as we discuss the matters before us. Help us to act with integrity, fairness, and compassion, always mindful of the needs and aspirations of those who we represent. May our decisions reflect your will and lead to peace, growth, and prosperity for all. Bless our deliberations today and throughout this year. Give us strength and unity to face challenges with courage and to celebrate successes with humility. We place this meeting and the work of this council into your loving hands. We make these prayers through Christ our Lord. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you and have a nice and productive meeting today.
Thank you very much, Father. We greatly appreciate you coming along and giving us your blessings. And thank you for all your encouragement and in our roles as we hope to also provide good leadership in our council deliberations. So thank you very much, Father.
Thank you. And see you sometime.
Yeah, thank you, Father. So the bells have stopped ringing, councillors. Okie dokie. Moving on to confirmation of minutes of the previous meeting. So do we have a mover and seconder for our previous meeting minutes? Councillor Cruz moved. Councillor Donaldson second. So if there's all in favour? Motion carried. So any business arising out of those minutes? No, thank you very much. Moving on to item 7, review of outstanding meeting actions. If there's anything for the General Council meeting actions there's the update at the end of the agenda there. If there's anything else to add there. Okay. Thank you very much. Our next item is deputations. So there's none today. Merrill Neil, and just asking if there's any conflicts of interest that councillors would like to register today. No, and just another reminder as we go through the agenda, if something does come up, please, you have another opportunity to declare any conflicts of interest. Moving on to section 12, decision action reports. Our first item is 12.1.1 1 in the area for the Chief Financial Officer. So, which is 12.1.1, Monthly Financial Report, December 2024. So I hand on to our Chief Financial Officer, Aron Diaz. Thank you, Aron.
Good morning, councillors. Through the chair, in accordance with Section 204 of the Local Government Regulations, a local government must prepare and present a financial report at a meeting of the local government once a month. The report must state the progress that has been made to the budget for the relevant period of the financial year. In complying with this legislative requirement, this report presents the financial performance of Central Highlands Regional Council for the period ended 31st of December, measured against Budget Review 1, which was adopted by Council. I will now hand over to our Manager of Finance, Helen Kirby, to take us through the report in detail.
Thank you. Thank you, CFO. And through the chair, and good morning, councillors. I will take the tabled report and attachments as read. However, before taking questions, I will outline some of the key takeaways from the December report, which measures council's performance and position at the halfway mark of the financial year. So at section 2 of the report, a year-to-date operating surplus of 15.8 million is shown, which is recorded against a year-to-date budget surplus of 10.1 million. This favourable result of 5.7 million is the net impact of operating revenue exceeding budget by 2.1 million and operating expenditure coming in under budget by 3.6 million, which reflects the variance in employee costs actuals to the year-to-date budget. The driver for the increase in revenue at the end of December is mainly due to investment returns on cash held in the Queensland Treasury Corporation at call cash fund accounts, which exceeds the year-to-date budget forecast by 1.2 million. At section 6 of the report, the analysis of the adopted capital budget for community infrastructure projects shows that just over 36% of the full year budget has been spent at the end of December. When commitments representing purchase orders raised are included, this percentage increases to 64% of the full year budget. Sections 4 and 5 of the report show council's cash and debt balances at the end of December. The cash balance was 113.4 million, with 94% of these funds held in the Queensland Treasury Corporation cash fund accounts, which have earned interest of around 5.1% for the financial year to date. Long-term borrowings held with the Queensland Treasury Corporation were 57.5 million. Council fully repaid 3 loans in October with a combined book value of 9.68 million, and it is expected that additional loans will also be repaid early before the end of the financial year. Section 7 of the report shows the year-to-date performance of council's business activities, with all businesses recording operating surpluses. Except for sale yards, this operating result was favourable when measured against the adopted budget. Section 8 of the report shows that combined rates and water arrears are 10.18 million at the end of December, which is a reduction of 2.8 million from November. The recovery rate from the issue of the pre-sale warning letters in October to ratepayers was low, with only 228,000 recovered to date from 88 properties. Arrears in relation to 5 properties were paid in full, and formal payment arrangements have been put in place for 15 properties. There are 50 properties with combined arrears of 1.9 million, where the property owner failed to make any contact with council following receipt of the warning letters. Most of these are non-owner occupied residential properties located in Emerald, and a full breakdown of the 50 properties is provided in the tabled report. It is proposed that council does consider commencing an auction process in accordance with section 140 of the Local Government Regulation 2012 for the sale of properties where owners have either not paid in full or have failed to enter a formal payment arrangement. This would represent approximately 65 properties. The first step in this formal process will be to issue a notice of intention to sell to all interested parties in the land. A report seeking a resolution from Council to issue these notices will be tabled at the March General Council meeting. And as all timeframes under the sale of land process are calculated in reference to when these notices are actually served on the property owner, an auction would possibly be held in September for those properties progressing to the auction stage. So in closing, the recommendation is that Council adopts a monthly finance report for the period ended 31st of December 2024. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Helen. Any questions or comments, councillors? Just a quick comment to say thank you to all the staff for going through their rigorous financial or budget reviews and coming up with the surpluses to be able to put us in a good financial position. So thank you very much. I know that's a lot of hard work. So thank you. And Councillor Wilkins.
Sorry, I do have a question. Helen, you mentioned about, was it $300,000 was only $300,000 was taken in arrears or something like that? You've got.
It was about 230,000 all up that we recovered as a result of issuing the pre-sale warning letters.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So on page 45, or just number section 8 or whatever, you've got here, I don't know, that it's almost 1.5 million or something less than the previous. Is that the year to date, or is that the month in the previous month, or I don't know?
So,
that's total. Oh, that's okay. I don't get that. Is that amount or?
Yeah, so just through the chair, so that in that section 8, we showed total arrears broken up between rates and water, because we issue those notices separately. So those pre-sale warning letters that we did issue related to properties where they were had been in arrears more than 3 years.
Yeah,
that's right.
Oh, so
it forms part of those arrears balances that are presented in the tables.
So it's only okay, I see. Thank you.
Right.
Thanks very much. Yeah, so fantastic. Thank you.
Good. Thank you. Councillor Cruz.
Through the chair, I think it should also be noted, whilst we've got to this stage with those properties, Council has done its due diligence with the debt recovery at every stage, at every issue of rates notices over the last over 3 years. So there's been a number of opportunities for ratepayers to get in contact with Council. This isn't just something that is just we've decided to do. It is under legislation within the Act, and we've given them every opportunity, as well as the opportunity for payment plans.
Thank you very much, and held back over difficult times like COVID as well. So, but thank you very much for doing our due diligence and continuing with that process. So, thank you very much, Councillor Hindmarsh.
Thank you, through the chair. And if this is able to be answered, just that there's a few of those properties that are already in receivership, that mortgagees have been put in possession. So where do we stand as far as recovery with them? Do we stand in line with everybody else, or is there how does that work?
Just through the chair, so that's correct. There will be a hierarchy in terms of how council benefits from any proceeds of the sale. But those ones in the table, I think there's 3 from memory. As a result of issuing the pre-sale letters, we were advised that they were either in receivership or other legal implications involved. So I will need to seek legal advice in relation to those to see how we proceed.
Good. Thank you very much, councillors, and thank you very, very much to Chief Financial Officer and Finance Manager. I'm not sure. I think I'm supposed to use your title rather than your first name. Sorry. So just to put the recommendation is that Central Highlands Regional Council adopts the monthly financial report for the period ended 31st of December 2024. So can I have a mover? Councillor Wilkins, seconder. Councillor Burns, all in favour? Motion carried. Thank you very much. Moving on to item 12.2.2, which is debt policy amendment. So once again, handing over to our Chief Financial Officer, Arun Diaz.
Through the Chair, this report seeks approval to amend the current debt policy of Council. The amended policy will enable Council to apply for short-term borrowings through Queensland Treasury Corporation via a working capital facility. If I can hand over to Helen to take us through some of the salient points of the report before we take any questions. Thanks, Helen.
Thank you, CFO, through the Chair. So as required under the Local Government Regulation 2012, Council presents and adopts a debt policy each financial year. The current debt policy was adopted at the special budget meeting on the 26th of June last year. The adopted policy states Council's intention not to undertake borrowings in the current financial year or for the next 9 financial years. Since the adoption of the current policy, Council has proactively developed a financial sustainability strategy which will be presented for approval at the General Council meeting next month. The key elements of the strategy are to tighten control of Council's operating and capital expenditure and to be debt-free by the 31st of December 2027. During this period, Council may have a need to access short-term borrowings to provide necessary cash flow when there are a series of large cash outflows, either operating or capital, in the period prior to the receipt of the semi-annual rates and water levies. As you are aware, Council is generally only able to source borrowings from the Queensland Treasury Corporation, who offer products to accommodate short-term and long-term borrowing needs for local governments. Queensland Treasury Corporation offer a short-term borrowing product called a working capital facility, which is basically a low-cost overdraft facility for short-term cash flow needs. To apply for the short-term facility, Council is required to submit a borrowing application, which is similar to the process when applying for long-term borrowings. This process requires the submission of Council's debt policy authorising the proposed borrowings. The proposed short-term borrowings through a working capital facility with a limit of $15 million is not presently included in the current policy. So the main rationale for the use of a working capital facility is that it would free up surplus cash held by Council to pay expensive long-term debt. Interest rates on some of Council's existing long-term loans are as high as 6.51%, with interest rates fixed for the term of the loan. And for some of these loans, the term is as long as 17 years. The interest rate currently charged on the working capital facility is much lower at 4.6%. So in closing, the recommendation is that Council adopts the amended debt policy to enable Council to apply for a working capital facility with the Queensland Treasury Corporation. Thank you.
Thank you, Finance Manager. Any questions or comments? Councillor Soper.
Thank you. So the financial strategy, draft financial strategy has not been adopted at this point in time. And when it was presented at a workshop, I did have a number of questions, and I did ask that it be not brought to Council for adoption until the new CEO came, so that we could actually, as a council, sit down with the permanent CEO to discuss it and have questions explained. Why could this not be held over until to see whether that strategy is adopted or not? Why is there a rush to bring it to this meeting and not hold it over until the strategy is adopted? For me, this, and the way I read this report, is that we're getting an overdraft to pay off debt, potentially pay off debt, which is identified in the draft strategy. So therefore you will have a debt to pay a debt. That's pretty simply put. But I would like to see this particular item presented after the adoption of that strategy, if it gets adopted.
Just through the chair, the reason for bringing the amendment of the policy to this meeting is that the borrowing application has to be submitted by the middle of next month, so it just won't coincide with the General Council meeting next month, which is at the end of February.
And can I hand over also to the acting CEO?
Yep. You're right, Council is still to consider formally the finance strategy, which has been looked at in workshops. However, reducing costs of borrowings, regardless of that, is recommended by the management team because it reduces the costs of cost to council, operational cost to council overall. The finance strategy is a much bigger document that covers 10 years of planning for council. This element is a very small piece that really should be considered as business as usual. We should always be trying to reduce our costs of operation, in my view, and that's the recommendation of both myself and the executive team, is that this would make common sense and reduce our costs by a very substantial amount.
Thank you very much. Councillor Whiteman.
So, through the chair, the working capital facility, does the interest rate on it float with the market?
Just through the chair, so it's a margin, I think it's 0.25% above the cash rate, RBA cash rate, which is likely to actually go down.
Yeah.
Whereas at the loans on the interest rates on our long-term borrowings are fixed for the term of the loan. So if we've negotiated them at those high percentages like 6.5%, we can't change those.
But even at the moment, it's still 2% less than the long-term loans.
Correct.
And this is a facility, as I understand it, that it's a facility to cover the reserves mandated by legislation. It's not a facility that we would envisage actually using.
Just through the chair, no. It really is a facility just for that short-term needs between those cash inflows. So that's why it's roughly about $15 million we've estimated that we would need.
Yeah.
But you're correct. At the 30th of June, we are required to hold, I think it's at least 4 months cash flow, unrestricted cash on hand. But look, really, from my opinion, I don't think we potentially will not need to use the facility, but it does give us that option if we need to. It's there, it's low cost. If there was a month between cash inflows from our rates and water levies where we had large capital works expenditure payments or other emergencies that crop up, we would have the capacity to do that.
In short, Councillor Whiteman, to answer your question, according to our cash flow projections, we ordinarily oughtn't need to use it.
Yep.
So, but if we did, it would be short term. So we might need to use it for a month. So you'd pay interest for 1 month, not 12 months.
Not for the 12 months.
On the debt, because we were dipping it out of it as money came in from rates and other charges. We might only need to use it for a month. So the cost difference is not 2%. The cost difference might be 2% for that month, and then
6.5% for the rest of the year.
For the rest of the year.
That's exactly right.
That's the reality of it. That's why it's such an enormous, such a cash positive thing for the organisation.
Yep. No, that's all my questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Wilkins.
Is there an early payout fee? If you pay out those long-term loans, is there a fee if you pay it out early?
Yeah, so just through the chair, and I think, you know, when we paid those loans out in October, there is an early payment adjustment. I suppose it's just like a break fee on any loan. So it's the difference between the book value of the loan, so what we've currently got them in our balance sheet at, and what the market value is. So it can be either a positive or negative adjustment. I think when we paid out the loans in October, we actually had a positive adjustment of about 200,000 because the
sorry.
market value was lower than the book value.
Sorry, when you say positive adjustment, so we didn't have to pay the 200,000. Is that what you're saying, or there was like a fee of 200,000?
Yes, it was actually we paid out our loans less the 200,000 effectively.
Yeah. So so as you're saying, it's 2% per month or whatever. So that early payout fee, would that? Oh no. So if it's positive, then it wouldn't matter. It'll be better. It's great. But if it's negative, would that be cost more than the benefit that we're getting from it?
Councillor, perhaps I can answer.
Okay.
Either way, it's not material. We're talking about very small figures for the adjustments. It's not a major figure. In the case of the loans we paid out last year, it was in our favour, $200,000. It's a calculation which is done on the day. It's impossible to really tell you in advance, but either way, it's not material. We're always better off with lower debt.
Councillor Sypher.
So just to clarify, this isn't going to be used to pay off long-term debt. This is going to be if we run short of operational money for our operational expenses, and then we're going to use our current cash to pay off the long-term debts.
Correct. Just through the chair, and the facility can't be used to pay off debt. It is only for operational needs. But
so we're using our cash to do that.
That's right. Our surplus
So we're borrowing money to do operational, so we don't have to use our cash, if we need to.
If we needed to.
If we need to.
In the event that we needed to. So the only reason we would need to, in my view, is if we were late getting our rates notices out by a month.
And getting our cash flow coming in.
Yeah.
Because we've had this before last year. I think we had 10 million for the last 3 or 4 years, which we never ever touched through this, didn't we? We did have did we have access to it?
No,
before?
so just through the chair. So this is the first time we've ever applied for the working capital facility.
Oh, it's the working capital, right.
That's right.
Yeah.
Councillor Newman.
Through the chair, I just think this is a very well thought out plan for the long-term sustainability of council as a whole, and given economic undercurrents of the current situation, I think it's good long-term planning, so I'm in support of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Newman. Councillor Burns.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I agree with Councillor Newman. I think it is uncertain, the area we live in and what we rely on with the mining and everything else. So this is the better the financial footing we're on, the better it is for the whole region. So I like this idea, using the money that's sitting there and then having that's just in case money anyway. So we can spend that, get down the debt, so we're not paying all this interest every year. And then we can use the working capital as the just in case money, which hopefully we don't have to use too often. Thank you.
Good. Thank you very much. Councillor Cruz.
Through the chair, I was just probably going to echo some of those sentiments in that this is just a just in case scenario, and I guess you've got. I'm very pleased to see this because I guess the question is why probably hasn't it been used or utilised in the past? Is the question, like, it's obviously a different sort of rationale as to dealing with debt, but I think I'm pleased with this inclusion because at the very simplistic scale there is a big difference between the interest percentages, and that is a benefit to council, and that's what we've got to be looking at, whether it's a small term, long term, or whatever. If we look at it like that, there is a benefit to council. So I'm in support of this.
And Thank you very much. Just before, if you don't mind, we've been very fortunate to have our current acting CEO and all our finance team that have been, looking, reviewing and drafting up the financial sustainability strategy, that long-term strategy, and bringing fresh ideas into council to come up with initiatives such as the WCF, the Working Capital Facility. So I think that from that perspective, we're very lucky. So,
Thank you.
Thank you, Beck.
Councillor Whiteman.
And through the chair, the other thing to make comment on in this is that the working capital facility has no fees unless we utilise it. It frees up over $700,000 a year worth of interest that we no longer have to pay. It's cash positive in its first year, and I think it's just a really good use of the financial systems available to us to lower our costs and to improve ourselves long term. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Good. Thank you to our Chief Financial Officer and Manager Finance. If that's all the comments and questions for the time being, I'll put the resolution forward. So the resolution... I see that. We'll just do this and... just to put the resolution forward, that the Central Highlands Regional Council adopts the amended debt policy CHRCP 0033 as tabled. Move Councillor Burns, seconded Councillor Whiteman. All in favour? Motion carried. Thank you very much. We're right now that the cameras have come back on, Marnie. Sorry, we were just had a little bit of a glitch there, so I apologise to any of our viewers. So continuing with our decision action reports, we're moving to 12.2, which is communities. Our first item is 12.2.1, which is a request for development application fee reduction. DA050 2024 development permit for material change of use, non-resident workforce accommodation, Quantat Proprietary Limited. So I hand over now to our General Manager Communities, Adrian Burns.
Thank you, Mayor. Good morning, councillors. As the Mayor quite rightly pointed out, the purpose of this report is to present a request for a development application fee reduction to council for consideration. I will take the report as read. However, I do have Beck McDonald here to talk through some salient points, and we can both answer questions if councillors do have questions. I would also like to take this opportunity to say that after some stellar service, this is Beck's last council meeting with us, as she will be moving on to a wonderful role at Isaac Council, who have stolen her from us. So we're not very happy about that, but that's how it is. So thank you, Beck.
Thank you, Adrian, for spilling the beans. Good morning, everyone. Yeah. Through the chair, the purpose of this report is to present a request for a development application fee reduction to council for consideration. A development application, reference number DA50-2024, has been lodged by Quantat Proprietary Limited for a material change of use for non-resident workforce accommodation for the existing and operational Rosewood Workers Accommodation Village in Blackwater. The Rosewood Village was established by two separate development approvals that were issued by the former Urban Land Development Authority in 2014 and 2016 respectively. The applicant is seeking to amend or delete two conditions in the existing development approvals that are in effect for the Rosewood Accommodation Village that impose a sunset clause for the operation of the village. Together, the sunset clause conditions require the village to cease operating in mid to late 2025 unless an approval to extend the duration of the approved use is obtained or an approval to repurpose the buildings for another use is granted. The applicant has identified that there is an ongoing demand for workers' accommodation to be provided for the resources and construction sector for projects within the Bowen Basin. Therefore, the development application has been lodged by the applicant to allow the Rosewood Village to continue operating. The applicant has requested that the sunset clause conditions are deleted from the decision notices, and the applicant does not propose any other physical changes to the appearance, scale, number of beds or day-to-day operations of the village as it currently operates. Councillors, please note that at this point in time, council officers have not assessed the application or made a decision if the request to delete or amend the conditions will be supported. The application is currently in the public notification stage, with the public notice period ending at 11:59 p.m. today, the 22nd of January 2025. In relation to the request for a fee reduction, Council's 2024-25 fees and charges resolution prescribes that the application fee for a workers' accommodation development application of this scale is $111,323. This is the fee that would be payable to council for a new development application on this site. However, as the development approval and use is already operational and the purpose of the application is to seek to allow the continued use of the workers' accommodation facility, the prescribed application fee does not match up with the resources required to assess this application. This is on the basis that there are no additional impacts caused by the nature of the proposed development, despite it being a new development application that's been lodged. The council is delegated powers to decide a fee under section 82(1) of the Economic Development Act 2012. However, in deciding this fee, the delegate must comply with section 129 of the Act, which sets out that the fee cannot be more than the actual cost of considering and processing the application. Therefore, officers are proposing a reduction to the application fee to better align with the resources required to assess and determine the application. Officers recommend that the fee is reduced from $111,323 to $132.30. This is 10% of the prescribed current fee and aligns with the resources required to assess the application and reflects cost recovery. Therefore, Council, the officer recommendation today is that Central Highlands Regional Council approves a fee reduction for the development application fee for DA50 2024, reducing the application fee from $111,332 to $11,132.30, which achieves cost recovery. I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you very much, Reckon. We'll do our discussions and then we've got Councillor Whiteman.
So just for clarity, even though we reference the sunset clause in this resolution in the background, there is no, the resolution is just about the reduction of the fee. There's nothing else within this that pertains to this development application. We're just talking about whether the fee as it currently stands is consistent with section 129 of the Economic Development Act. And
through the chair, that's correct, Councillor.
Yep.
Good, thanks, Councillor Whiteman, for that clarification. Councillor Cypher.
So the fee is still payable, even the reduction, say we approve the reduction, that fee is still applicable whether the application is approved or declined?
Through the chair, that's correct, Councillor Cypher.
Yep, thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. Councillor Newman.
Yes, through the chair. So at a later date, again, it's the sunset clause element of this, will we be receiving another
through the chair
report?
The framework for decision making on applications states that if there's more than 3 submissions received during public notification period, that are opposing a development, that it's required to then be presented to General Council for decision in that case. To date, we haven't received any submissions on the application. So at this stage, unless there's submissions received by midnight tonight, at this stage, it's at delegate level to assess and determine that application. So I can't confirm if it will come back to council or not at this stage.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Burns.
Thank you. How long's the sunset clause for?
Through the chair.
How many years?
I think it was originally 10 years. So it's due to the dates don't align for the two approvals. So they're slightly, they're a couple of months apart. So the first approval is due to finish up on the 8th of August 2025, and then the second approval is the 24th of November 2025. So for all intents and purposes though, that first approval that's due to end on the 8th of August 2025, that includes all the facilities and the office and the rec room. So really the camp can't operate past the 8th of August 2025 this year if a decision to extend that condition or change it was not approved.
Yeah, I'm happy for the camp to continue for another term, but I do like the sunset clause.
Okay, sorry, I've just been told by the CEO that we do have to stop the conversation there, if that's okay, and just stick to the recommendation, discussion around the recommendation that's been put, if that's all right. Sorry.
No.
Thanks, Councillor Burns. Yep. Councillor Cruz.
I was just going to say that the matter at hand is just about reducing the cost for this development application, and that's all we should be addressing at this point in time. No matter what is in the background, that's not the intent of this resolution. Thank you.
Thank you. Very good. Thank you very much. So if there's no further comments or questions, we'll move to the resolution that the Central Highlands Regional Council approves a fee reduction for the development application fee for DA 050 2024, reducing the application fee from $111,000, $323 to $11,132.30, which achieves cost recovery. So can I have a mover, please? Councillor Newman, seconded Councillor Hindmarsh. All in favour? Motion carried. Thank you very much. And before you move on, Beck, we wish you all the very best in your new endeavours, and we thank you very, very much for all your professionalism and your extensive knowledge in your practice. So thank you very much, Beck. All the best. Thank you. So moving on now to item 12.2.2, Central Highlands Arts and Cultural Advisory Committee, new member nomination, handing back over to General Manager Communities, Adrian Burns.
Thank you, Mayor. Through the Chair. With me today I have Vashti Bardsley, the Arts and Cultural Officer for the Galleries, who oversees the council galleries within the region. As councillors will be aware, the Central Highlands Arts and Cultural Advisory Committee, known as CHRC, is a council committee established to support council service delivery in the area of arts, culture and heritage. The committee also functions as the assessment panel for the Regional Arts Development Fund. CHRC operates under a terms of reference endorsed by council in October 2020, and as required by these terms of reference, the CHRC committee comprises of 2 councillors, 1 council officer and up to 12 community members. On the 24th of April 2024, the councillor positions were appointed to Councillor Gay Cypher and Councillor Gillian Wilkins by council resolution. This report presents a community member nomination for endorsement. Community members serve a fixed 3-year term based on an expression of interest process. The current term spans from the 1st of July 2024 to the 30th of June 2027. Current membership comprises 3 community members. This leaves 9 vacancies. On the 28th of November 2024, a community nomination was received from Chrissa Pongo. The selection panel reviewed the nomination, noting Chrissa is passionate about the arts and their potential to connect, inspire, and enrich the community. The panel therefore recommends that this nomination is endorsed by Council, which will still leave us 8 community vacancies, which we will continue to seek to fill. Councillors, we commend this nomination to you for endorsement, and we are happy to answer any questions. I have Vashti Barnsley with me today to answer those questions, because she knows a lot more than I do. And yeah, we'll hand over to you. Thank you very much.
Very good. Councillors, any comments or questions? And thank you for being here, Ashley. Councillor Cypher.
Thank you. I was just wondering if we could have some background on the applicant, like what her qualifications or what her interests are. Like, I've never seen any of it through the committee.
Through the chair, Carissa is a youth member, so that would be add a valuable insight to the current committee members.
Any more?
Oh, she's an artist, and she's also a previous winner who has entered our annual art awards.
Wonderful. Thank you. Very good. If there's no more questions and comments, thank you. I'll put the recommendation is that Central Highlands Regional Council endorses Chrissa Pongo as a member of the Central Highlands Arts and Cultural Advisory Committee. Mover? Councillor Wilkins, seconder Councillor Hindmarsh, all in favour. Motion carried, and congratulations to Chrissa. Thank you very much. Continuing now with our decision action reports, moving to 12.3 commercial and corporate services. Item 12.3.1, entertainment, hospitality policy and expenses reimbursement and provision of facilities to Mayor and Councillors policy procedure amendment. So handing over now to General Manager, Commercial and Corporate Services, Carolyn Knutson. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Through the Chair, good morning, councillors. A review of the entertainment and hospitality policy and expenses and reimbursement and provision of facilities for Mayor and Councillors policy has been undertaken in accordance with Council's policy register and review schedule. I now hand over to the Manager of Governance, Millicent Bradley Woods, to take Council through this report.
Thank you, General Manager Knudsen, and through the Chair. The legislative requirement to adopt the entertainment and hospitality and expenses reimbursement and provision of facilities for Mayor and Councillors policies are set out under sections 196 and section 250 of the local government regulation respectively, and they're expanded on in the report. As noted by General Manager Knudsen, a review of the entertainment and hospitality policy and expenses reimbursement and provision of facilities for Mayor and Councillors policy has been undertaken in accordance with the policy register and review schedule. The review of the policies has taken into account the recommendations from 2 internal audits that are set out within the report body, namely that the Council review the corporate purchase card management framework and supporting documents and policies such as the procurement and travel and accommodation and hospitality policies, and that Council also review the travel and accommodation policy to ensure that the use of purchase cards for meals is fit for purpose. In addition, the second recommendation from the internal audit was that in relation to gift purchases, that councillors ensure that all purchases are in line with expenses reimbursement and provision of facilities for Mayor and Councillors policies prior to purchase, and if gifts are purchased by councillors, that they should be included in the policy in its next review. The policy reviews have been undertaken in extensive consultation, including with a series of executive leadership team workshops during late August 2024 and November 2024, in addition to presentation of the draft policies and procedure to the Strategic and Briefing Forum to inform the draft policy and procedure reviews. In relation to the revised entertainment and hospitality policy, this policy has been redrafted to enhance controls in relation to the expenditure of public funds on entertainment and hospitality, including catering, and to ensure that such expenditure is reasonable, appropriate, publicly defensible, and represents the best use of public resources. Key changes captured within this policy include, first, inclusion of 6 guiding principles which must be considered prior to spending public funds. Second, a table for permitted entertainment and hospitality expenditure outlining the reason for expenditure, the type of entertainment and hospitality permitted, and the expenditure approval level requirements. Previous financial limits for expenditure on meals have also been removed and replaced with reference instead to the Australian Taxation Office taxation determination to ensure that expenditure and reimbursement of expenses complies with these limits and does not create any unintended fringe benefits tax liability. Third, an updated list for inappropriate expenditure. And fourth, and separately, development of a template for requesting catering and hospitality to allow for prior consideration of expenditure and subsequent approval, and to allow for accurate reporting and recording of fringe benefits tax. Additional changes have been also made based upon councillor feedback at the Strategic and Briefing Forum in relation to controls for expenditure on civic functions. In addition, following the Strategic and Briefing Forum and for ease of application, councillor reimbursement for meals when leaving home before 5:30am and returning after 9:30pm has been removed from the entertainment and hospitality policy and is now solely contained within the expenses reimbursement and provision of facilities for mayor and councillors procedure to ensure that councillor-related reimbursement is included within the one policy rather than having to switch between the 2 different policies for ease of application. In relation to the revised expenses reimbursement and provision of facilities for mayor and councillors policy, the proposed expenses reimbursement and provision of facilities for mayor and councillors policy has been drafted to include supporting procedures. Key changes captured within that policy include inclusion of principles for councillor expenditure in a way that is simpler for community to understand, namely that councillor use of facilities and expenses and reimbursement of expenses must be reasonable and in the public interest, be publicly defensible, and be accountable and transparent. The inclusion of reporting requirements pursuant to section 186 subsection B of the local government regulation, which was previously not captured within the policy, has also been included. The proposed supporting expenses reimbursement and provision of facilities for mayor and councillors procedure replaces the attachment in the current policy and provides guidance for councillors to meet the requirements of the policy. This is consistent with our policy governance framework. The procedure has been updated in table format to include approval requirements for travel within Queensland, interstate or internationally, with the addition of advocacy travel types included following councillor feedback at the Strategic and Briefing Forum. In addition, the procedure includes clarification of the manner in which payment should occur for various expenditure, either via reimbursement to the councillor or via direct payment to council, by council rather, noting that it was identified that information relating to payment of expenditure was spread throughout the existing policy, and the use of a table to group like material together within the document assists in application of the procedure. In addition, the procedure includes now requirements around corporate purchase card reconciliation and reimbursement requirements, and this has been consistent with some of the findings from the internal auditor in the corporate purchase card usage and issue internal audit. And also the procedure includes now limits for meal expenditure in accordance with the Australian Taxation Office requirements to manage organisational fringe benefits tax annual expenditure, and that's been included in the same way as it has within the entertainment and hospitality policy. A tracked changes version of the expenses reimbursement and provision of facilities for mayor and councillors procedure, which is not in table format, has also been attached to the report, and that's solely to enable councillors to identify key changes, and for clarity it's not proposed for adoption. The expenses reimbursement and provision of facilities for mayor and councillors procedure in table format is the recommended format and is what is recommended to be adopted today. So in closing, councillors, the recommendation is that Central Highlands Regional Council, pursuant to sections 196, subsection 1 of the Local Government Regulation and section 250, subsection 1 of the Local Government Regulation, adopts the entertainment and hospitality policy as presented in clean copy and adopts the expenses reimbursement and provision of facilities for mayor and councillors policy and procedure as adopted in clean copy, and repeals the existing entertainment and hospitality policy and the existing expenses reimbursement and provision of facilities for mayor and councillors policy and procedure.
Very good. Thank you, Manager Governance. Thank you very much for all the hard work as well for everybody. The new format, policy format, and thank you for including the policy procedure there as well, which, as you quite rightly say, it's the policy we adopt, and you've included the policy procedure for us to see where the changes have translated from policy to procedure. So thank you very much for that. Councillors, any questions or comments? Councillor Burns.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just want to bring up, this was just done due to the it come up through the audit and the review system and that. We're not doing it because it was being abused. Or, yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Cruz.
Through the chair, I just want to say I really appreciate the fact that the principles are put in there, and the principles being the official purposes, stewardship, compliance, accountability, conflict of interest and defensibility. So if that is the expectation of the rest of the organisation, that must be the expectation with regards to councillors as well. So fully support the amendments that have been made.
Good, thank you. Councillor Newman.
Through the chair, I would just like to also say that I'm fully in support of the changes, and I love the table format. It's much clearer. It's much more user-friendly for anyone within the public to understand and for council themselves. Thank you.
Good, thank you very much. And at all times, I know that we all do our very best to comply with all of our policies as councillors and staff, so thank you very much. Can I have a mover if there's no more questions or comments? Mover, Councillor Cruz. Seconder, Councillor Donaldson. All in favour? Motion carried. Thank you. Good. Moving on to our next agenda item, which is 12.3.2, unconfirmed minutes, Audit and Risk Committee meeting, 5th of December 2024, and again handing over to our General Manager, Commercial and Corporate Services, Carolyn Knutson. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Through the Chair, the Audit and Risk Committee is established as required under the Local Government Act 2009 and under the Local Government Regulations 2012. The committee is required as soon as practicable after a meeting of the committee to provide council with a written report about the matters viewed at the meeting and the committee's recommendations. I now hand over to the Manager of Governance, Millicent Bradley Woods, to take council through this report.
Thank you, General Manager Knudsen, and through the Chair. As the report sets out, the most recent meeting of the Audit and Risk Committee was held on the 5th of December 2024. Consistent with the requirements under Section 211, subsection 1, subsection C of the Local Government Regulation, the report as tabled presents the unconfirmed minutes of the Audit and Risk Committee held on the 5th of December for endorsement by Council. Highlights from the Audit and Risk Committee meeting on the 5th of December included approval of the internal audit plan, which includes 3 internal audits, including in relation to contract delivery and information systems holdings, specifically in relation to personal information. Secondly, receipt of the Queensland Audit Office closing letter. Thirdly, approval of the Reset Enterprise Risk Register, which is a strategic project the governance team has carried out in partnership with all sections of the organisation between April and October 2024 and does mark a significant milestone in our risk journey as an organisation. And fourthly, receipt of the Queensland Audit Office Risk Maturity Assessment. In closing, the recommendation is that Council receives the unconfirmed minutes of the Audit and Risk Committee meeting meeting and endorses the recommendations contained therein.
Very good. Thank you very much. Over to councillors for any comments or questions. Excuse me. No. I participated online with this meeting as well. I'm able to as an observer. So it was a really good meeting and thorough discussion. So thank you very much. And great minutes too for capturing. So thank you. Councillor Cruz.
Through the chair, I was just going to say probably one of the things that was really covered off was that risk management update and the amount of work that had been put into that and the maturity of the documents as they're coming forward, and that was noted by the chair and all of both the independent committee members as well as those councillors sitting on the committee as well. So that was a significant amount of work that's sort of gone into that, and it was very well received by the chair. Thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you very much. Absolutely. And a journey that we're going to be continuing to go on as council. So we're excited about that too. So thank you very much. Any other comments or questions? So we'll put the motion that the Central Highlands Regional Council receives the unconfirmed minutes of the Audit and Risk Committee meeting held on the 5th of December 2024 and endorses the recommendations contained within the minutes. If I could have a mover. Councillor Wilkins, seconder, Councillor Cruz, all in favour? Motion carried. Thank you very much. So moving on to our next agenda item, with our General Manager, Commercial and Corporate Services, Carolyn Knutson. The agenda item is 12.3.3, appointment of Independent and External Audit and Risk Committee Chair.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Through the Chair, this report is seeking Council to appoint a chairperson commencing 1 March to Council's Audit and Risk Advisory Committee. Council's Audit and Risk Committee Charter states that the committee is to be comprised a minimum of 3 and a maximum of 4 members, with 2 of the members to be councillors and the remaining members to be independent external to Council. For further clarity, the Charter states the committee chairperson must be independent of and external to Council and is to be nominated by Council. Mr Graham Webb, PSM, is currently the independent and external chairperson of the Audit and Risk Committee. Mr Webb commenced his term with Council as that chair in 2018, and the maximum term of his appointment concludes this year on the 28th of February. Expressions of interest closed on the 18th of December last year, 2024, with interviews conducted for that position on the 16th of January this year. The interview panel comprised of Councillor Rachel Cruz, who was the acting mayor at the time, acting Chief Executive Officer Ross Musgrove, and myself. At the conclusion of the interviews, the panel determined Mr Stephen Coates to be the preferred applicant. Mr Coates has over 20 years' experience leading assurance and advisory teams in both the private and public sectors. The officer's recommendation is that Council appoint Stephen Coates to the Audit and Risk Committee Independent and External Chairperson for the term of 4 years, and with the possibility of future extensions subject to the composition and skill requirements of the committee to a maximum term of 6 years. I now hand back to the Chair for discussion with Council.
Good. Thank you very, very much. So over to our councillors for any questions or comments. Councillor Cruz, did you?
Through the chair, I was just going to say, through the interview panel, obviously, all the candidates were highly qualified, and it's probably a credit to Mr Coates that he was the one that we sort of deemed would fit our requirements because of his skill set. So showed in great leadership and experience. But I'd also just like to make note and as a note of appreciation for Graham Webb's contribution to the Audit and Risk Committee over the years of his tenure. So that's much appreciated, and obviously in his last meeting we'll convey that as well. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. So if there's no further comments or questions, we'll move to the recommendation, which is that Central Highlands Regional Council appoints Stephen Coates to the Audit and Risk Committee independent and external chairperson role for a term of 4 years with the possibility of future extensions subject to the composition and skill requirements of the committee to a maximum term of 6 years. Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Cruz, seconder Councillor Donaldson. All in favour? Motion carried. Thank you very much. And I'd like to also concur with Councillor Cruz. I served on the Audit Committee, as it was then last term, and now participating in the Audit and Risk Committee as an observer. And I just wanted to say that since 2018, Graham, Mr Webb, has been serving on the Audit Committee. The performance of the committee under his leadership has been solid and progressive for our organisation. So we thank Graham and we welcome Stephen Coates. So thank you very much. Moving now to our Acting CEO.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Councillors, the Local Government Association hosts a Civic Leaders Forum. It's a forum open to mayors, deputy mayors and CEOs only. It's to be held in Brisbane this year on the 12th to the 13th of March, and is an opportunity for mayors, deputy mayors and CEOs to hear from experts in local government, meet with government ministers and the like. The Premier often attends, and an opportunity to keep up with contemporary trends and make sure that the organisation is able to run as best as possible with all the knowledge that is needed in those positions. The officer's recommendation therefore is that the Mayor, Deputy Mayor and the CEO be representing Central Highlands Regional Council at the Local Government Association Queensland Civic Leaders Forum. The officer's recommendation is there. I'll hand back to the Mayor.
Good, thank you very much. Over to councillors for any comments or questions.
Through the chair, I won't be attending that one. Okay. I won't be here, obviously. But I just thought of just further to that in other groups of councils that we are currently in. There were also discussions that provided another opportunity for, say, the CHRC of the world to get together with various stakeholders as well. So it provides that opportunity, having all of the mayors and CEOs in the one place. So just another advantage.
Yep, thank you very much. And I think, as in the agenda item there, there's, I think it's being organised by one of our neighbouring councils to have a resource councils forum as well, preceding the Civil Leaders Forum. So,
unfortunately, Mayor, we've been advised, I think today, that's unlikely to go ahead.
Okay, very good. As in, thank you for the update. Sorry, because it was going to be a good opportunity for our resource councils to actually get together. So thank you very much. Councillor Wilkins.
Just a comment. I'm happy for you guys to go to this conference. Just on the 2 dates, though, there's a strategic and briefing forum and budget review and stuff. That's all.
Sorry, sorry, can I just say that again, please, councillor?
Oh, sorry, just a comment that just on those dates, it's just, we have a strategic and briefing forum and budget review
So
stuff.
that would need to be adjusted, I think.
Yeah, yeah, it's just a comment.
Very good. Sorry, and I was just going to ask the question, if the Deputy Mayor is not available to go, can another councillor also attend? It's an opportunity for other councillors to understand what the forum is. Oh, just off the floor.
No, I think it is only mayors and deputies. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much. Very good. So, if there's Councillor Cruz.
So are we able to just change that recommendation?
Yep, and that's what I'm going to propose. So,
Thank
if
you.
that's all right, so tell me if I've got it wrong. Very good. If there's so if there's no more comments or questions, we will move to the recommendation is that Central Highlands Regional Council be represented at the Local Government Association of Queensland, LGAQ, Civil Leaders Forum to be held in Brisbane on the 12th to the 13th of March 2025 by Mayor Councillor Janice Moriarty and Chief Executive Officer Aaron Johansson. Got that right? Moved by Councillor Cypher.
Oh, well, I'll move.
We're still...
Yeah, I was going to respond to the resolution. That's...
So we're just taking Councillor Cruz's name out of there. Thank you.
Well,
yep. Move Councillor Cypher, seconded Councillor Newman. All in favour? Motion carried. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, moving on to our next item, which is in our information report section. Moving to item 14.2 for the Department of Communities, and the item is 14.2.1, Councillor Update Pet Awareness Campaign, and handing over to General Manager Communities, Adrian Burns.
Yeah, councillors, thank you. Good morning. Sorry, councillors, I'm quite loud. I forget I need the microphone. Councillors, thank you. Mayor, this report provides an update to councillors in relation to the pet awareness campaign being undertaken by Ranger Services. It's one of our councillor update series of reports and is a good news story. As a result of networking with other local councils, we became aware that there was a successful program that we could piggyback off that would inform local students around the awareness of interacting with animals, particularly dogs. Undertaking some further interest into this report, we determined that we could also implement this pet awareness program within our own Ranger Services. And as a result of this, we engage with a number of primary schools with students attending courses from six students at small schools to over 200 students. Multiple sessions occurred, and the interactions covered methods of communication with dogs, the behavioural characteristics of dogs, and how a student or a young person may interact with a dog in the environment, in the community. It also covered things like how dogs were stressed or became anxious, and the results were universally welcomed by the schools and students, and we deemed the program to be satisfactory, and we would like to continue it and possibly, if necessary, or if appropriate, expand it. It is part of the normal range of services around animal control within the community, and yeah, we'll take the rest of the report as read, as we feel that this is a really good program that we would just like to highlight to councillors for your information.
Good, thank you. General Manager, are there any comments or questions? Councillor Cruz.
Through the chair, I think you know, children being aware of the behavioural you know, tendencies of dogs is terrific. I guess my question is, when you say successful program, what does success look like? Does it look like students that are being engaged, or number of like, what are the KPIs? Number of schools, or is it less interactions with bites, or what's success look like?
Through the chair. At this stage, the success measures are really only the feedback we've received from the schools and the students, and the number of students that have interacted with the program. I think as we progress and and this program establishes a little bit more in the community, and we have a bit more time to assess whether we have any negative interactions with dogs in the community, and we have, you know, dog bites, dog attacks, or that are concerned, we may be able to put some metrics across the top of it. But at this point in time, it is purely and simply the feedback we are receiving from the schools that we have presented to, saying how good it was and how well received. And obviously the officers themselves seeing that interaction and getting that response from the students who are taking part in the process. As I said, it's aimed so far at young children, but we do feel that there is a place for it with those lower order in terms of age high school students.
No, thank you. And definitely, I guess it's got to go hand in hand with responsible pet ownership. And the ramifications if people aren't, you know, aren't responsible with their pets and do have them out where they shouldn't be, and there is an interaction. So it's covering from both bases. Thank you.
Through the chair, if I may just add to that and respond to that. That's 100% correct, councillor. And those councillors who were around when recycling was brought in, which now seems such an awful long time ago, but the pressure that young people applied to their parents what was and is significant in that recycling space. And this is the same lesson. If the children become aware of it, it becomes something that they reflect on at home about behavioural practices with their own pets and with family pets. And so they can, as they progress through the age group, they can then support the younger children in those families being pet aware as well. And they make great ambassadors for the programme. So 100% councillor, that's correct.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Whiteman.
Through the chair, I believe we have an extra ranger recently. Is that correct?
Through the chair, we have had a number of vacancies within our ranger teams, and we are currently recruiting, but we're also just lost one. So do we have an extra one? She's just seconded from the end of the month. Yes, we are currently recruiting, and yes, we did engage a new ranger.
We got one and lost one.
Unfortunately, that's correct.
Okay. That was a disappointment, but I wasn't aware of that. No, I think this is a great program, and yeah, I'm happy for it to continue.
Yeah, good. Thank you very much. Councillor Wilkins.
Thank you. As a vet, I can't, say how this is such a valuable thing. So I think children of such a young age, developing an affinity and understanding, just this sort of heart-opening stuff, so that people aren't necessarily choosing pets just because I want a puppy or something like that, but they're choosing and understanding that there are implications. As Councillor Cruz mentioned, responsible pet ownership. And then this also filters to other animals as well. So I would like it to see if this could be expanded to wildlife, because there's a big wildlife community in this shire as well. And for me, you know, I know, and when you speak to students in this way or children, they do put pressure on parents to also be concerned about, you know, the animals and things like that, such that I know in the past, say, you know, if there's a kangaroo or something being killed on the road, you know, people will stop and check to see that there's no joey and stuff, or, you know, remove the animal off the road just for safety reasons, things. So things like that, you know, I think it filters, you know, starting this way, and then it just filters to other areas of animal care and management and, you know, affinity and stuff like that. And I'm not just talking about all the cute and cuddly things too, I'm, you know, referring to reptiles as well, so what my favorites. And cats. All right, anyway, I think it's a great program, and I think it's a great start, and it would be great if it could be further expanded to like wildlife as well.
Good, thank you.
Through the chair, thank you. We'll take that on notice.
Great, thank you very much.
Sorry, and high school students too.
Very good. Thank you very, very much. Greatly appreciate that, and concur with all the comments that have been made. It's a wonderful program. So thank you very much. So we'll put the resolution that the Central Highlands Regional Council receives as update to councillors in relation to the pet awareness campaign. Can I have a mover, please? Councillor Whiteman, seconder. Councillor Wilkins, sorry, there was. All in favour? A motion carried. Thank you very much, General Manager. Okay, we move on to the next item, which is item 14.3, Commercial and Corporate Services area. So the item number is 14.3.1, Unconfirmed Record of Proceedings, Emerald Airport Advisory Committee meeting 2nd of December 2024, and I hand over to General Manager, Commercial and Corporate Services, Carolyn Knutson. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Through the Chair, the Emerald Airport Advisory Committee meets on a quarterly basis to provide a forum for engagement, consultation and communication with airport users, including local business sector and the community. The committee held its most recent meeting on the 2nd of December last year, 2024. The agenda included reports relating to airport finances, progress on capital works and an operational update. We will take the record of proceedings as read, but I have with me today Brian Griggs, Manager of Airport, to assist in responding to any questions that Council may have, and I now hand back to the Chair.
Thank you very much and welcome, Brian. Thank you. As very good. I thought your title might have been there, which I'm supposed to call you by your title, so thank you. Okay, any questions or comments? Councillor Cypher.
The review of the master plan, how's that going? And will that, in the review stage, come to councillors to have a look at? To contribute?
So, yes, thank you, Councillor. Through the Chair, the master plan's in a final draft, preliminary draft phase at this time, so talking with the consultants and working with the airport and immediate stakeholders that are utilising the airport. Then the draft will go through to the advisory committee and then on to council, for council to adopt the draft for community consultation and further robust consultation with users. And then the final master plan is due to come back to council for adoption and through the advisory committee process as well. So we'll be seeking council's endorsement to go out to the community with the draft, to endorse the draft, and then bring the final master plan back to council for consideration.
So where in that process is there a workshop for councillors to contribute?
So there was a workshop held last year at the commencement of the draft with the former council to include to make sure that we've captured the intent of the current term of council. There'll be a process before that draft goes to council for adoption for community consultation and prior to it going to the advisory committee, there'll be a number of stages in there that we'll weave in to ensure that councillors are well informed and have had the opportunity to contribute significantly to the draft, and then again at the next stage once the draft is coming back as a final version.
Okay, thank you, because I mean, I've contributed, but in the previous term, but yeah, thank you.
Yeah, good. Thank you, Councillor Cypher. It was a question I had as well, so thank you. Councillor Donaldson.
Morning, Brian. I'd just like to say that the airport continues, the revenue of the airport continues to rise with the parking and the arrivals and departures, which is continues on a steady base, rising, which is a good thing. With the matching of the draft of the plan we sort of doing, then the chairman thing. Personally, I'd like to say that we would consultate, yes, with the whole council, if that's possible, to get everyone's point of view, what we're trying to achieve out there. Yes, and everything's going quite well. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, Councillor Donaldson. I know what I'll be keenly looking for any cover over walkways, but anyway. But I did have one question, if that's all right. I know that there was reference to the current 5-year master plan and the new one being developed, but also I noted in there, in your discussions, Councillor Donaldson, where you asked about the business governance model for the airport. I was just wondering how that's going. I know that there's been some, as noted here, different models have come forward. So I was just wondering when that model might come to the councillors also to have a look at.
So through the chair, and I'll ask Brian to value add where he sees there's opportunity. So we're currently working on a draft pricing review as well as business governance review, putting a number of proposals forward for council consideration on the number of the different governance models that might be appropriate for a regional airport such as the Emerald Airport. That is in final draft at this point. We'll then be consulting with the incoming CEO to have Aaron's review and approval, and then we'll be scheduling in a workshop with councillors to take them through or providing the briefing paper to councillors with an opportunity to discuss and have a workshop on that.
Good. Thank you very much. When you just said, did you, hopefully I heard this right, pricing review? So as part of that pricing review, I know we've been lobbying with airlines to, look at, I suppose, costs for flights in and out of Emerald. Will that provide some insights as evidence to support our ongoing discussions?
So through the chair, I note that the acting CEO's light is on, so he may wish to comment to this.
Sorry.
But we certainly can value add.
I think my light's been on for a while, but I think I left it on, if I'm honest. I had a meeting with Qantas and CHDC prior to Christmas to discuss pricing. Through that discussion, we learnt that our pricing, that Qantas consider our pricing to be quite low for their charges. That's certainly something to bear in mind. I think moving forward, we probably need to look to make sure that our pricing is contemporary and is covering the costs, and not only covering costs, but getting a reasonable return that's in line with other airports like ours. We're not the same as the airports on the coast. We don't have that kind of volume, so we need to be comparing with airports like ours, and Qantas said openly that ours are considered to be quite low.
Thank you very much for those comments.
And through the chair, we will be bringing a report to council for consideration of the 25-26 fees and charges, given that we have to give the airlines 3 months notice before we can implement a change in fees and charges. This body of work will help to influence that discussion with council for them, so we'll be discussing with Council in February, intended to bring the report to Council in March, working very closely with the CFO and his team, who's provided all the technical expertise from a financial point of view. And then obviously, Brian, you may wish to speak to the fact that you've already started to communicate with the stakeholders, the airlines, which we're required to do, to give them some advance notice of what we might be looking at in terms of the approach to our pricing model for 25-26.
Through the chair, we have been working closely with all the airlines from the work we did 12 months ago with the E190 intending to come. There was always the expectation that we would be doing the homework on full cost analysis and also comparisons with other ports. So that's been well underway, and we've again recently been in touch with all the airlines advising that as that's still progressing, we'll do a standard fees and charges review and increase, and it'll be followed up in the new financial year with the appropriate 3 months notice of the outcome of the effects of the E190s on the airport infrastructure.
Great. Thank you very much for that. Councillor Newman.
I would just like to note that I was an observer at that meeting as well, and I was just, there was a lot of excitement around the possibility of a trial program for the autonomous aircraft or autonomous vehicles. So I was just curious whether there's any progress with that or whether that has now become an inclusion within the master planning.
Through the chair, it is in the master plan that it's a consideration at the airport, Australian Airport Association conference late last year. That was one of the active discussion areas at the conference of the speed that the autonomous aircraft and the eVTOL aircraft were coming on board. I have been following up on some of the players that were at the conference that were already doing a bit of work in Australia. I haven't had a lot of feedback other than to say that they've heard from me, but yeah, we'll see what goes. It'll be a long period of bringing everything up to speed. I think it'll be closer towards the end of the decade, but we'll take it as it comes.
Very good, thank you. I did note that in the minutes, and I think we've had a discussion before about it, so it's very exciting for sure. So, Councillor Donaldson.
Sorry, I just mentioned you took the words out of my mouth. I wanted to mention that the autonomous thing, and also is it very interesting that they're predicting a 40% increase in domestic air travel within Australia, and I think the international travel is going to be higher. So with our airport out there, with the master plan, obviously we have to take that in consideration. That's a lot, you know, and whether we can. That's why the master plan, part of the idea of that is that to take that in consideration for the future growth of the airport.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, which just reminds me too, I think we'd been seeing in the previous council some updates on different airports, and I remember seeing a smaller country airport being called the International Airport. So maybe we could do that for Emerald too going forward. But thank you very much. Yes, it's exciting times ahead. Councillor Cruz.
Through the chair, I was just going to, just in item number 6 of the report, the manager airport update, some of the notable events for the airport was the cafe supervisor is left after 2.5 years and an opportunity to review service levels and operations. What's that look like, I guess?
Through the chair, we've been starting to work through the viability of going back to a similar situation prior to COVID of whether it's commercially viable to have it leased out and have a third party working on that, or whether with the market as it is still around Emerald, where the market in that area is not that strong, as you've probably seen, a number of closures around town recently. So we're still going through the process to see if we can come up with an answer as to whether we recommend that the level of service is value added for council to support financially as it is now, or whether it's at a point where it can go out to market. So we're not rushing into it, and it's not the highest on priorities at the moment, where I believe presenting a reasonable service at not a huge cost. So we'll continue that, but we will come back eventually with a report and recommendation of where we think that cafe is best placed in the market.
Excellent, thank you.
Yeah, great question, actually. I never hear anything but praise for the airport, but I have had a few travellers that have come in from out of town, and they haven't been able to access the cafeteria, or if the machine is not working, to grab something to eat before they jump on their flights. But again, it's all about making sure that we're complementing our business model out there. So thank you very much for that. And if there's any more comments or questions, we'll move to the recommendation that the record of proceedings for Emerald Airport. Oh, no, did I miss you again? No, okay, good. I'm sorry. That the record of proceedings of Emerald Airport Advisory Committee meeting, the 2nd of December 2024, be adopted. If there's a mover, Councillor Donaldson, seconder, Councillor Hindmarsh, all in favour? Motion carried. Good, thank you. Thank you very much, Manager Airport, and our General Manager. Thank you very, very much. And we were due to have a break at 10:30 for morning tea. So if everyone's happy to have a break now, we'll come back at 11:10. So thank you to our viewers. If you want to tune in again at 11:10. Thank you very much.
Councillor Burns to set Big Ben is more accurate. Yeah.
Okie dokie, thank you very much, and welcome back to continue our council meeting today, Tuesday, the 22nd of January 2025. Now we're up to agenda item 14.4.1. It's under the infrastructure and utilities section, and the agenda item is 14.4.1, councillor update, Dawson Development Road. Handing over now to the General Manager, Infrastructure and Utilities, Jason Houlihan. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Good morning, councillors. Through the Chair, this project on the Dawson Developmental Road, or the Springshore Tambo Road as it's commonly known, was carried out under a contract with Transport and Main Roads to extend the seal approximately 2.6 kilometres. The project is the first stage of the ROSI, or the Roads of Strategic Importance funding, which committed $50 million to this road back in 2018. The final stage of this works was completed and sealed on the 13th of December 2024, just ahead of the staff Christmas shutdown, with full completion scheduled in the next few weeks, which is well in advance of the contractual deadline of the 21st of February. The project scope included drainage upgrades, pavement widening, gravel overlay, bitumen sealing, and the cement stabilisation of 2 floodways. The successful collaboration with local landowners enabled the construction of a sidetrack detour around a significant portion of the works. This initiative enhanced safety for our workers and staff, reduced interactions with road users, and delivered cost savings by minimising traffic management costs to the project. Material efficiency was prioritised, with approximately 5,000 tonnes of gravel sourced from a local nearby Central Highlands Regional Council managed gravel pit, significantly reducing import costs. An additional 15,000 tonnes of gravel was supplied from a local Transport and Main Roads registered quarry. Local subcontractors were engaged to provide wet hire services such as water truck hire, side tippers and fencing works. All excess and unused material or unsuitable material from the project was recycled and repurposed for rehabilitation of a nearby gravel pit or borrow pit within the road reserve, aligning with sustainable project practices. The project, as mentioned, councillors, is on the final stages of completion and has been a very successful project.
Good, thank you very much. Thank you very much for bringing this project forward so as a highlight of some good best practice from council, so thank you very much. If there's any questions or comments? Councillor Wilkins.
Sorry, excuse my ignorance. So, sorry, what length of road was this again?
Through the Chair, this project achieved 2.6 kilometres of bitumen.
And sorry, I'm just trying to find because I don't know the area very well. So it's the Springshore Tambo Road, is that? No?
That's correct, councillor. Yeah. So the Springshore Tambo Road obviously connects from Springshore through to Tambo. Yep. Within the Central Highlands Regional Council area, there's about 160 kilometres of road, 167 kilometres I think it is. Of that, about 120 is unsealed, so gravel road. There's under the Queensland Beef Corridors, which is an initiative of Central Highlands Regional Council and 7 other councils, the Queensland Beef Corridors, the Springshore Tambo Road or Dawson Developmental Road is incorporated in that, and there's a significant amount of money committed to continue on with sealing on these roads.
Fantastic. Can I just ask, like with the, could you put a map of, rather than, I mean the pictures are fantastic, but also include a map so that someone who doesn't really know, is not familiar with it, like me, can work out where it's been done?
Yeah, thank you, councillor. Definitely we can take that on board for future council reports here.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Councillor Hindmarsh.
Thanks, through the Chair. Is there another scope of works planned for this section of road, or for further sealing on this road in this budget? As Main Roads allocated to it, to your knowledge? Have they allocated any further funding for further bitumen on this road? And if appropriate, may I ask, how is the contractual arrangement for the maintenance of the rest of the road going? Is it still being satisfactorily maintained as far as you're aware?
Thank you, Councillor. So the Queensland Transport and Roads Investment Program, or QTRIP as it's known, sets out Main Roads investment on their road network. This project was identified to be delivered in the 24-25 financial year in their program. There is a separate line item in there for the Dawson Developmental Road, which is a $25 million commitment, which is spread over a number of financial years, right through to 27-28, which has been, in the dealings we've had with Transport and Main Roads, they've submitted a PPR, or a project prioritisation report, which outlines how that money will be spent. So that's with their Brisbane section of Transport and Main Roads to approve that prioritisation report. Out of that, there will be projects that will flow through, and we will be dealing with Transport and Main Roads, hopefully, in being able to secure those contracts for delivery. So that's the Rossi funding. That is all part of the Rossi funding, which is a $50 million commitment. Obviously, as recently as this week, we had a meeting with our Queensland Beef Corridor Committee, which is the additional $500 million committed from the state and federal governments on our Queensland beef corridors. That prioritisation of projects is occurring within that program as well on this road.
Thank you very much. Councillor Burns.
Yeah, thank you. Looks good, Chase. Sorry. Manager Houlihan. How much is left to seal now?
Yeah, through the chair. I believe there's about 120 kilometres, so around, give or take, 5Ks with this recent work and some additional work that's been recently completed. It's about 120 kilometres of unsealed road remaining on the Tambo section.
What percentage is ours? Is it halfway or is it a bit further?
Through the chair, so that's our section. So that's to our
that's
boundary.
section.
Yeah, there's an additional 27-ish, give or take again, on the Tambo side, Blackall Tambo.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Good. Thank you very much. Councillor Newman.
Through the chair, I would just like to congratulate everyone for being ahead of time on the project. Also, it was pleasing to see that the excess and unsuitable materials from the project were recycled and repurposed, and that the old borrow pit was able to be utilised. So I thought that was a positive, and I look forward to seeing further sealing on the road. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Wilkins.
Sorry, just another question. So if you finished like a month early, does that mean that the 50 million, there's a little bit left over, or there's less that the council spent on that sort of thing?
So through the chair, so the contract we have with Main Roads for this project was significantly, it was, I think it was a $3.7 million contract to deliver the 2.6 kilometres. So the money has been spent, the $3.7 million. Under a normal contractual arrangement, it doesn't matter how long it takes, the project was to deliver. The benefit to council and us finishing early is that we have less, so things like traffic management, you pay for the time that they're on the project site. So the fact that it was delivered sooner means less cost to council, and therefore the profit which we make on the contract is increased.
Very good, thank you. Councillor Donaldson.
I was just wondering, I don't know whether it's appropriate or not, with these contracts with the Main Road, do you do the worst part of the road first, or is this continuation of where the bitumen ends, increasing that? So in that case, who makes that decision? Is it a TMR or ourselves with the, you recommend the TMR to do the worst section, or?
Yeah,
Just
good.
interested.
Thank you, Councillor. Very good question. So it's a combination of both. So this, as mentioned, so this money was committed in 2018 to start the $50 million rollout of works on the Tambo Road. The initial works, so Transport and Main Roads identified a section of the road to be sealed, which from their planning reporting identified a section further along the road. We consulted very heavily with the landowners and property owners within that area who had different priorities. So we went back to Main Roads with an alternative. So that project was then moved, so the funding was moved from the section near Mansion Downs further back to the prioritised community perspective of where they would like it spent. So moving forward, and part of the Beef Corridors Committee is to work with Transport and Main Roads to prioritise the sections from Council's point of view, not just what TMR think needs to be done.
Yep. I think it's really good that you consulted with the people who actually use it. You consult with me, but I don't know anything about it, so that'll be no good. But the landholders, the people who use it, and other people, that's, yeah, thanks very much for that. That's good.
Thank you very much. Councillor Newman.
I was just going to reiterate Councillor Donaldson's sentiments. I've had lots of positive feedback from the landholders on the new roads program, with consulting with them when we're going out to roadworks. So I'd like to congratulate you on that program.
Very good. Thank you very much. Very good. No more questions or comments. So we'll move to the recommendation, which is that Central Highlands Regional Council receives the councillor update in relation to the pave and seal upgrade to Dawson Development Road, which commenced on the 19th of August 2024 with expected completion of February 2025. So if I can have a mover. Councillor Burns, seconder, Councillor Donaldson, sorry. All in favour? Motion carried. Thank you. Very good. Thank you very much. Very good. On our agenda today, we're moving from section 14 to section 15, which is information reports closed session. So there's nil reports. And we're moving to late agenda items, there's nil, and item 17, notice of motion. So 17.1, notice of motion submitted by Deputy Mayor Councillor Rachel Cruz.
Thank you, through the Chair. First and foremost, as elected representatives, we are entrusted with the responsibility of acting in the best interests of community. This trust is not just a privilege, but a duty. Ratepayers, the residents of our region, are the backbone of local government funding. In return, they deserve to know that their hard-earned money is being spent wisely and effectively in all facets of local government. When councillors attend conferences, we often have the opportunity to gain new knowledge, forge beneficial networks, and participate in discussions that shape the future of local governance. There is no doubt that such events can be very valuable. This motion is about sharing that value. Accountability begins with transparency. After attending conferences, councillors should be prepared to report back individually, explaining how their attendance has been a benefit to the local area. We should always exercise prudence and restraint in decisions around attendance. It is a privilege and a responsibility to represent our communities, and with that comes the obligation to be transparent, fiscally responsible, and focusing on delivering value. These reports are a way to show that we are focused on those principles. I'll now read the background to my motion. Councillors have the opportunity as part of their council duties to attend events at the expense of council, i.e. conferences and training, to further their knowledge and understanding of issues affecting local government and Central Highlands Regional Council. The purpose of attendance at events requires council resolution is to enhance the skills, knowledge and understanding of councillors in a coordinated sound governance framework and provide a valuable insight into updated information of best practices, new policies and emerging issues in local governance, public service and community engagement, all of which are important for decisive decision-making when shaping policies that aim for efficient, effective and equitable delivery of services to council's constituencies. Attendance should relate to an objective identified within the current or future strategic direction of council. It is essential both morally and ethically that the knowledge that is gained be shared with fellow councillors, council officers, stakeholders and the wider community where appropriate. Council funds are sourced from the ratepayer and expenditure of funds needs to be publicly defensible. Where a councillor attends any type of event that is identified within the expenses, reimbursement and provision of facilities procedure requiring a councillor resolution, a councillor must be prepared must prepare a comprehensive report to be presented at the next practical General Council meeting as default or strategic and briefing forum in limited circumstances determined by the CEO to enable knowledge, information and emerging issues and insights gained to be shared with Council. The requirements in relation to the reports are the report must outline the public benefit of the attendance of the event by the councillor, event topics for each event topic, the key learnings, insights and best practices identified, details of the councillor's attendance and participation in the event, individual attendance in breakout groups or specific interest forums, councillors' plans for applying the knowledge gained for the betterment of council policy and or practice, issues or challenges raised that could directly affect or benefit council, and on reflection, comment on the overall value of attending the event, conference or training, and whether council and community benefit from attending in the future. The report should outline the materials, should include and attach such materials such as agenda items, program overviews, speaker slides, handouts and brochures, and if relevant, some images or media from the event. Where multiple councillors attend the event, individual reports should be submitted by each councillor attending the event. Where the report is presented at a General Council meeting, the report must be presented in an information report and that the councillor must liaise with the executive assistant to the mayor and councillors to meet reporting timeframes. At a strategic and briefing forum, the report must be presented in a briefing item and the councillors must liaise with the executive assistant to the mayor and councillors to meet reporting timeframes. Having regard to reporting timeframes, reports must be included within the relevant meeting agenda within 2 months of the date of the event. Therefore, the councillor note of a motion is that Central Highlands Regional Councillors are each required to report back to council following attendance at an event identified as requiring approval by way of the council resolution under the expenses, reimbursement and provision of facilities procedure, and the Chief Executive Officer is authorised to make necessary procedural changes to implement this requirement. Thank you.
Okay. Open to comments and discussion. Sorry, moving. Councillor Sypher.
Thank you. I fully support this. I often get comments from the public about, well, sometimes I get quite shocked when they find out that there isn't a requirement of every councillor that attends a conference or a training session, but particularly conferences, that they don't have to provide a report. And in my time in council, there's been a perception that if the officer goes, well, they're responsible for doing a report and the councillor is off the hook. And I can honestly say that the conferences I've attended, I believe every councillor does take notes and they do collect materials. They just don't provide that feedback back to the organisation or to the public. So it's one thing for us to come back and talk about the conference we attended and all the great things about it, but the public aren't hearing that, and it's the public purse that is paying for our way down there. Now, I will admit that this may all seem a bit daunting and, you know, another layer, but if a simple template was done up that with the questions, because there was a lot of these ones that when Rachel first contacted us about this, I did say that a template, and I did raise a lot of these topics. So if the template was just topic driven and you just filled in, it doesn't have to be a manuscript of 2,000 words that you're reporting back on. It doesn't have to feel daunting or over the top. It can be very simple process to do it. And I truly and honestly believe there is an expectation from the community to know why councillors go to these conferences, what benefit it is to the councillor personally, but also what benefit does the community get back, and how are they going to learn? Because I often hear, "Oh, I'm going to learn things." Well, what are you going to do with these learnings? How are you going to implement these learnings back into the communities where we work? So I commend the Deputy Mayor for taking this move to put this notified motion up, and it has my support. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Newman.
Through the chair, when I read the background to the motion, all I could see was a huge workload, similar to what the actual staff do to go through council and to go through all the reporting process. I think that increases the workload of our council. This actually implies that we're not reporting on the conferences we're attending. We do report on those two in our councillor workshop, our catch-ups. So we are accounting for what we do within those workshops currently. I think there should, if there needs to be a formal framework in our council reports, that's fine. But over and above that, that could just be a simple media release that's added to our other documents. It does not need to go through a council meeting for the community. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Newman. Councillor Burns.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Well, thank you for this item, Deputy Mayor. Look, prima facie, it looks, on paper, it looks good. Like it's fair enough. But I think looking deeper into it, it's a question of hats and what our role is and what our job isn't, we don't work for the council, we represent the people of the council area. And this leads to future considerations with people who are elected by the people, councillors elected by the people, they're elected to represent them at all these events. And I think this puts a fetter on that, like there'd be people who are elected, not just this council, but future councils, that would forego going to these conferences and representing their people because of this writing report. I can't support it the way it is because of that fetter. It stops possible involvement where there should be by elected representatives. You could probably, perhaps there could be a joint report put together by people who go to the conference in conjunction. And we already report on voluntarily, so I'm happy for everyone to continue reporting voluntarily.
Thank you, Councillor Burns. Councillor Whiteman.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. There's a couple of points that I'd like to bring up with this this notice of motion. It feels good on the face of it. When I first read it, I thought that it sounded like a common sense approach. There's a couple of issues that I do have with it. One is that it's been put forward as a notice of motion without going through council workshops. It means that we have to make a decision on it on the day without having legal advice or being able to workshop the implications of something like this. And I'm traditionally against any motion that comes through without being able to actually have a discussion about it in the background. As I've said before in this forum, that a lot of the time you know, we have these motions that come through and people in the public think that we're just rubber stamping them, but we've actually been involved in the motions, in their development, in the background, giving feedback to the council on what we see and how the motions could be drafted in a better way, so that what actually ends up coming to council is a finished motion rather than something that councillors can't support. It makes the whole process a lot more efficient, and it saves the time of not only the council staff, but also for the people of the Central Highlands who are relying on those motions to come to a council meeting. It means that they only have to come to one council meeting. They don't have to bounce backward and forward between multiple council meetings. There is another issue that I've got with this motion, and that is that it only includes attendance at conferences or events from a council meeting. I would support this more if it also included attendance through CHDC funded events, because CHDC is fully funded by council. However, it functions outside of our reporting requirements. And so I see that as a glaring hole in this motion. If we're going to have mandatory reporting, we need to have mandatory reporting on CHDC funded events as well. But yeah, I can't support this in its current form.
Thank you. Councillor Donaldson.
It's good to get everyone's point of view. I do support this motion. I think the ratepayer does look for them at all. If I go to any conference, whether it's being the chairman of the airport or the CHRC and all that thing, I've got no qualms whatsoever to do the background work on any conference or things that the ratepayer is paying for, to let them know that we're actually not there on a tax junket. We're there to do a job and to represent the Central Highlands Regional Council. This thing. Another thing to with these some of these conferences, that they are sort of they can be a personal learning. We're only a first-time councillor, and we're always learning. Some of the local government conferences and all that sort of stuff, it's you do a lot of personal learning too, and I think you can still report that sort of thing, what you got out of it, to make you a better councillor in the long run for your the term that you're representing the people. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Newman.
Through the chair, I'm not implying that we don't report. I just have concerns about the conditions around this reporting style, and I do believe we should be workshopping it, because I don't think all the ramifications have been considered. I do not want to increase the workload and the reporting protocols to staff. I know what's involved with that. I've been involved with that. I do not believe it's the correct forum to go through there. So I do believe it needs to be workshopped further. I'm all, no problem with reporting, and ethically and morally, I think we all are here because we're ethical and moral people. So I just believe we need to perhaps workshop this further and consider it in a different format.
Thank you. Councillor Hindmarsh.
Thank you. Through the chair, I support the motion. I appreciate and I believe Councillor Cypher's suggestion of a template for reference could be very helpful. I think this gives us as councillors, it gives us the opportunity to relay information formally to to not only the people we represent, but to council staff who may otherwise miss opportunities within that information to aid their positions and the community. I think that that's possibly something that I've seen in the 10 months that I've been here at certain functions that we've attended. We've gained knowledge and information that ourselves that could very well have been helpful to others within the organisation, and that information has possibly not been passed on to them. That may have been missed. And I think there is no. I don't have any issue with formalising the reporting or our reporting on functions or learnings that we have as councillors within this organisation. For transparency, I see it as a requirement for transparency that we do. There's no structure around. There's no real formal structure around our requirement at this point as to how we do report back from these, and I believe we need to have something, even if this is just a starting point, and we modify it as we see fit if needs be, moving forward. But I believe it's a very good starting point.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Whiteman.
Just a couple of things that I did think of post my little comments there. One thing that I think needs to be spoken about in this public forum is that we don't send many councillors to events on council money. It's been very rare during this term of the council for us to send councillors. The mayor and the deputy mayor have been to a couple of local government things, but it's not something that is a common occurrence. The budget within, if you're listening to this online, you can go back and have a look at the budget during the finance report. We're not even halfway up to the conservative budget that had been allocated. This is not something that's happening on a monthly basis that councillors would be going to an event sponsored by council or paid for by council. So I just wanted to put that out there because the way that this is written, to my view of it when I read it, it sounds like this is something that's an issue, that this is something that happens on a regular basis and that there isn't reporting happening. It's not happening on a regular basis. It's not a common occurrence for it to happen, and reporting has been happening.
Thank you. Councillor Cypher.
Thank you. Just want to clarify a comment that was made about CHDC. CHDC is an incorporated body that council is a member of. CHDC is not run by council and is not obliged, it is actually managed by a board, and it does not come under the guidelines of local government at all, and it does not have the same reporting requirements as local government. So you do get a lot of reporting back from CHDC. Their annual report appears on our website. The board reports back to you. I give you minutes of the meetings that I attend to. So this does not need to involve CHDC because it has absolutely not governed by council. Council is a member of CHDC, the one and only member of CHDC, but it is a member. It does not run CHDC. Thank you.
Councillor Whiteman.
Just to clarify, I apologise to Councillor Cypher if she misunderstood my comments. What I said, or at least what I meant to say, is that as CHDC's only member, CHDC is 100% funded by council. I understand that CHDC has a lower reporting threshold than council does, but what that means is that in my way of thinking is that money comes from council into CHDC, therefore it has a lower reporting threshold than if CHDC or if council spent that money directly. And so that was why I was suggesting that as a wholly funded subsidiary organisation from council, well then this would have more bite if CHDC was included.
Very good. Any other comments or questions? Councillor Wilkins.
So it's very interesting, all the comments here. When I first read it, I kind of was a little bit upset because I as a couple of the other councillors have mentioned, I felt like that it implied that we were already wasting money, we're kind of a little bit unethical and immoral by not reporting directly to the public. Now, so that to me that was really hurtful, and the fact that we have to like forced to report on things that sometimes it's what's the word? Ephemeral is not the word, but it's like you know, gaining knowledge. Sometimes it's not necessarily something that you can write about, or gaining an understanding of something. It's not necessarily reportable. You know, just basic learning how the council runs, for example. For me, that's do I have to report on that? So if and as a new councillor, I also don't know what I don't know. So when I attend a conference and it's like, oh, it's an opportunity to network, it's an opportunity to see how other councillors deal with certain problems and things like that. How much reporting do you want? So, you know, we do have our councillor catch-ups where we do share what we've learnt and we do share what we've experienced. We do share concerns about public spending and things like that. And I think they're pretty comprehensive. I certainly try and share as much as I am learning and knowing, and I feel that's what most of us do here when we do have our councillor catch-ups or a catch-up with the CEO and stuff like that. So I also am a little bit upset that this was kind of brought to the council prior to having any sort of discussion about it, and just saying, oh, just email me, you know, if you have any issues, and then I can sort it out. To me, that's an inadequate way of working things out, because sometimes having the discussion, you kind of get other people's viewpoints and opinions and things like that that I would never have considered. For example, Councillor Burns' comment about, you know, we're elected members, we're here to represent the people, we don't work for the council. So things like that I would not know unless we've had a particular discussion. So, and if Councillor Burns had not mentioned it, it's sort of something that, you know, is not in my head because I'm a new councillor. So I feel that this is a couple of things. It has been brought up without a proper discussion. As I said, it upsets me because it implies we're already, you know, spending a lot of money and we're not showing that we are contributing to the community. And to formalise reporting, I think that takes the heart out of actually having a decent discussion with your fellow councillors and attending these functions to actually learn without going, oh my God, what have I got to report? And all that sort of thing. Or what if I didn't learn anything? You know, what do you report?
Very good, thank you. Councillor Cruz.
Through the chair, I guess when we do go away and we do have our councillor catch-ups, we do engage with councillors, and that can be quite comprehensive. But there is no, where do we go back to with the comments that may have been made by one councillor about their contributions to a conference? Where is the formality around that to be able to go back to that information? Where is the formality at the moment that enables the community to know what we are doing? Because we are accountable to the community pays. So that is why I believe it should be brought back to this forum. It is a notice of motion from a councillor, which every councillor has the opportunity to do. It is not a motion that is being brought by council, workshops, strategic briefing. It is a notice of motion that any one of us can do. I followed the protocols. I provided a number of opportunities for councillors to engage, to gain or garner more information around this. To date, no one has done that except for Councillor Cypher, and I received a phone call from Councillor Donaldson and Councillor Hindmarsh. So opportunity has been given. And I revert back to the motion in that it says, reporting back to council following attendance identified requiring, approval by way of the expenses reimbursement and provision of facilities procedure. And then the Chief Executive Officer is authorised to make the necessary procedural changes to implement the requirement. The rest is background information to give people an understanding of the thought process around it. The second one there is authorising how that looks, how that best fits to council.
Thank you. Councillor Wilkins?
I appreciate that, Councillor Cruz. However, as I've said, what you're doing is you're actually limiting the experience by formalising it. I don't know how to explain that anymore, because all I would be doing is going, what am I going to be writing about and all that sort of thing, rather than just listening to a speaker, listening or networking or whatever and all that sort of thing. My whole concern at a conference would be like, oh my God, what have I got to do to follow this procedure? So that, sorry, and I know you wrote an email to us a week before this was put up. However, a one-on-one email or phone call does not, it's not a discussion. There are 9 viewpoints here, and as I said, as a newcomer and a new person to this kind of organisation, there's so many procedures that are, just don't make sense because it's a government organisation. So having a full-on discussion would have been more fruitful and more likely that something like that would be passed, because everyone has an opportunity to really prepare and go, oh, I get your opinion, oh, I see your opinion, rather than in this situation. So it would be great if this could be taken to a workshop rather than actually having to make a decision on this at this point in time.
Councillor Cruz.
Through the chair, I just go back to, if the opportunity has been given to consult or speak to me about it and hasn't been taken up, then that is the choice that has been made from someone else.
Councillor Cypher.
I propose to move the motion.
Thank you. That's it now, isn't it? Yep. Okay. Well, we'll put it to the vote. So, is that right? Can I have someone to...
Second.
You've
moved it.
Seconded, Councillor Cruz. So all in favour? All against? Good. Thank you. And thank you for raising the topic, and I look forward to us doing a workshop on this anyway going forward, so thank you. Moving now on to general business. General business. Today I thought I would raise in general business just to elaborate on where we're at with our transitioning from our acting CEO to our permanent CEO. So at the beginning of the meeting, I welcomed our new CEO, Aaron Johansson. So thank you very much. Aaron comes to council with extensive experience in the private sector and local government, specifically as CEO. He is committed to delivering positive outcomes for our organisation and community. So over the next couple of weeks, Aaron will work closely with our acting CEO, Ross Musgrove, for a seamless transition, taking full control on the, if that's the right word, on the 1st of February 2025. And secondly, Ross, this is your last council meeting with us at Central Highlands. So I just wanted to say that Ross has provided exemplary leadership in his acting CEO role. We sincerely thank him for his commitment, hard work and dedication to supporting CHRC over the 7 months of your term. On behalf of CHRC, I wish you all the very best in your new endeavours. And also, can you pass on our best regards to Carrie for sharing you over the last 7 months. So thank you very much. We wish you all the very best in the future. And I'm sure that with the excellent handover and transition period, I'm sure that Aaron will continue your legacy as well. So welcome, Aaron, and thank you, and all the best, Ross.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, councillors, for the opportunity to serve you and the staff here and community at CHRC. I've had a wonderful time and made some good friendships amongst staff and councillors, which I'm sure will endure. I have great confidence in the incoming CEO, Aaron Johansson, having worked side by side with him for a few days now. I know that this organisation is in very good hands indeed, and I thank you very much for your friendship and your great close working relationship that you've all had with me over that time. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ross. Thank you very much. Just moving on now, unless there was anything else to add. Moving on to community acknowledgements. I just do have a couple, if that's all right. Sadly, during January, we've actually lost a couple of former council members of our CHRC family and the former Emerald Shire Council family. So first off, I just want to acknowledge that Council sends our condolences to the Duro family on the passing of Noel. Noel was part of the Emerald Shire Council and Central Highlands CHRC family for over 26 years, retiring in January 2020. From my memory, Noel worked as the store person in Emerald for most of his years here, then moved out to the airport in administration. I was glad to be a colleague of Noel's. He was always a bright, happy person and a great person to work with. Noel had his funeral on Monday, the 13th of January this year. Council sends our condolences to Marie and the Dendel family on the passing of Jim. Jim was part of the Emerald Shire Council from 1967 to 1981, starting as a foreman and overseer. Jim was appointed as a councillor in 1987, where he served as a councillor until the amalgamations in 2008. Jim then came back to work for Central Highlands Regional Council for a further 5 years, from 2008 until July 2013. I think there's some of us here who work with him, either as a councillor or colleagues, as the flood and flood damage, infrastructure manager and fleet inspector and operator. So Jim's funeral is tomorrow at the Uniting Church, and I would just like to say that Jim was a thorough gentleman. It was a privilege to work with him and know him, and to give recognition to him as a member of our CHRC and former Emerald Shire Council family, but also to acknowledge his extensive contributions to our communities. So, thank you. That brings us to item 20, which is the closure of our meeting. So we're closing our meeting now at 12 o'clock. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you.
So, councillors, lunch is